Hey everyone, thanks for joining. In today's episode, we're talking about how health and fitness can impact your dating life. Joining us today is certified nutritionist and weight loss coach Mike Gigante. Mike is the founder of Forever Fit, and he helps busy professionals lose 20 plus pounds without wasting time in the gym. Mike, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate it. I've been looking forward to this. I love what you do. I think there's such a need for it. So I'm happy to be a part of it in any capacity.
You and I both. And yeah, just so you know too, and like for those listening, like this is a topic that I'm actually passionate about myself, like health and fitness, and then obviously dating. So I'm really excited as well. Mike, tell us a little bit about you. Where are you from? How long you've been doing this type of work? That kind of thing.
Yeah, so I'm from Ramsey, New Jersey. So it's a small town, like 20 miles outside of New York City. Um, Grew up like in the 90s, early 2000s. So I say that because it was a time where um, any the conversation about body positivity or hey, let's temper the conversations around diet like that did not exist. So similarly, there just wasn't a lot of talk about what it was like to be gay at that time. So yeah, grew up outside of New York. I think as a kid, like you could see the skyline from my town, so I thought like, oh, this is sort of a cosmopolitan area. But growing up, realized it was sort of anywhere suburbia USA. Um, in terms of doing the work, I mean, my experience, maybe in the school of hard knocks, let's call it. I mean, my diet and calories and weight, it was always a part of the conversation in my family growing up. Food, I come from an Italian family. My mom, my aunt, my grandma, they were always on a diet. So I was on my first diet in like third grade. I think my mom was on Weight Watchers, and I remember like stealing her frozen dinners and trying to lose weight. And then fourth grade was Herbalife and Richard Simmons, and
Wow.
really between like middle school and high school, I lost and gained the same 50 to 60 pounds, probably six times. Um, and then in 2020, before it really blew up, I actually went on this Saxenda, which is a similar drug to Ozempic. And I was only on it for a brief sort of stint. And then I lost my fancy Blue Cross Blue Shield health insurance and then had to stop taking the diet. And it was in that moment where I was like, I don't want my health and my wellness to be beholden to an expensive insurance or to Lilly
Wow.
Pharmaceuticals or to something outside of myself. And while I was like extremely frustrating at times and demoralizing to be on that hamster wheel of losing and gaining the same weight, I always knew that there was a solution out there. And so really it wasn't until 2020, so relatively recently, that I started the more, academic study of nutrition. I got certified and started, developing the Forever Fit program at that time.
Wow. And then Forever Fit, like that's new for me. Is it a coaching program essentially, or is it like an app, or what is that?
Yeah, so essentially it is a weight loss coaching program.
Okay.
I have all sorts of different clients. Most of my clients are gay men. And really it's based on these three principles. One is metabolic mastery, there's this a true motion blueprint, and the third is sustainable success strategy. So yes, there is a private coaching app, but it's a one-on-one, really kind of a concierge program where I really kind of walk with each of my clients on their journey.
For sure. And one of the elephants in the room that we'll talk about in a little bit is I think there's a lot of pressure, and I know my audience feels this too. There's a lot of pressure for gay men to look a certain way. So I want to address that for sure. But really quick before I do want to ask you, this is kind of a vague question, but I want to ask why people gain weight. And the reason I ask is because when I think about myself, I was always a really skinny guy in high school, and then I went to college and I put on some weight. I was eating carne asada fries at midnight, things like that. But really, when COVID hit, dude, I gained, like, I was from like 165 to like 195, and I think it was just like work from home and convenience food and stuff. And then ever since then, I've been like trying to lose weight, and I've lost 20 pounds, but I'm just kind of curious, like, what are some main reasons? I'm sure there's a whole bunch, but what are some main reasons that you see that professionals like you work with gain weight or have gained weight? Like, why does it happen?
A great question. I think one, you had tied it to a timeline, so it's sort of specific, and then more generally, specifically to 2020, I think there was, and this is not based on any studies, just kind of
Sure.
my experience, there was this like relinquishing of a lot of those societal pressures. It was sort of like this is a time where we can be really gentle on ourselves, and we were going through this thing together. And I feel like that was a time where the conversation really shifted in a lot of aspects of culture, but around diet in particular, it was less about, pre-COVID, it was the Instagram models, and which still exists, but
Yeah.
but I feel like at that time it was kind of cooler to like cook banana, make banana bread or so I think as it pertains to that time period, I think there was a societal shift and a cultural shift. More generally speaking, though, and it's the reason I always encourage my clients to be gentle with themselves because, like, where it's in a lot of ways, it's in not to be like dismal about it, or there's definitely hope, but it's like a David and Goliath thing. Like we're going up against like McDonald's French fries, the salt and sugar ratio. That is like a scientific equation to like
Wow.
make you addicted to that food. Like it tastes like perfection, and there are think groups, and there's a reason that it's so hard to resist. So like, don't be gentle with yourself, and you're not always gonna win the fight. That's how that food is designed. Um, Pros and cons of living in this country. The con to the free market is that there's billions of dollars that is their job is to sell hamburgers, period. So yeah, so I would say it's tough. The food is designed that way, so we are. You look around the world, most countries, unless we've sort of exported our diet to them, like which happens in a lot of lower income or lower economic countries, but a lot of places in Europe, they don't deal with the obesity rates that we do here in the US. And it's just about the way we eat, really.
Yeah, and I love that you bring that up because I do think we shouldn't be super hard on ourselves because we are going against the grain, a very big thing. Like, I mean, I can go down the street, McDonald's, all of that. And to your point, these companies, we're both in business, they spend a lot of money on marketing, right?
Right.
And so that's going to get in the subconscious mind of the culture. And like we're going to see that all the time. Like everyone knows McDonald's, my 4-year-old nephew knows McDonald's. So yeah. The other thing that I noticed for me, I wonder if you see this a lot too, is the convenience of takeout. So right now I'm full time in my coaching business, my dating coaching business. So I have a little bit more time. But when I was working in a corporate job and my business, that was rough. And so I did a lot of convenience eating. Um, do you see that a lot for people as a trap that we fall into?
100%. I think recently, I think it used to be just the major cities, they had Seamless or Grubhub, and now it's DoorDash is everywhere. And even more recently, it's um, Gorilla Supermarket or Getty, or where so you can get like, I want Haagen-Dazs from. So yeah, it's tough. It's a uphill battle in a lot of ways. That being said, I think we can also use them as a tool, like
Yeah.
in the same way. And what I'll do for a lot of my clients, as I'm like, hey, what is your go-to like DoorDash? What do you like? You like Chinese? Great. Like, not that we want to eat takeout, we want to limit that, but we can also use that as a tool. The reality is, a lot of my clients, they work 12 hours a day and they don't want to
Yeah.
always cook. And when they do, great, let's show me what you normally order on DoorDash. Let's find 5 or so orders that you have in your back pocket. So when you come home at 10, you can use that as a tool to hit your goals as opposed to take you away from them. So yes, to answer your question, those convenience things, excuse me, can certainly make it more challenging. However, we can also use them to facilitate our goals.
Before we get into body image and gay culture a bit, do you think substituting, like if I, let's say I go to Chick-fil-A or something and I get, chicken sandwich, but instead of fries, I substitute for the kale salad. Do you think those small substitutions either make a difference over time or not
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, actually, I think that's kind of a general principle with diet, and at least my methodology in general is like kind of letting go of all or nothing thinking. Like
Okay.
it's not, I'm going to go to Chick-fil-A and I'm going to get like there's not two options. The option A is I'm eating a kale salad at home, or B, I go to Chick-fil-A and get a shake, a 8-piece nugget. It's like really thinking of our health as the sum of all of our food
Mm,
and fitness decisions, as opposed to
wow.
yesterday was bad, today is good. So 100%, yeah, like I actually I was just doing this for a client the other day. I was like going to Chick-fil-A, I was like, get 20 of the grilled nuggets. It's like a ton of protein. So yes, there's a long-winded way of saying, yeah, get the, not specifically you can never have fries, but yes, you can go there. Those little changes make a difference.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I think you said something like health is the sum of our fitness decisions and stuff. That's powerful.
Yeah.
We'll come back to nutrition because I think there's a lot there, but I know there's a lot of people who want to talk about the pressure that gay men have to look a certain way. I guess we'll just kind of just pause there and like, what are your thoughts on that? And how do I reconcile, like, how do I work out and focus on my health without feeling shitty and like I have to look like that?
Wow. How much time do you have? um, yeah, 100%. I mean, to dismiss that reality would just be dishonest. There is an incredible amount of pressure, I think specifically on gay men. I think a lot of it has to do with like we grew up without the blueprint for what it was like to date or how to navigate the world. So I think myself, like I remember watching, I became acutely aware of like advertisements and television and media, like, oh, if I wear Obsession by Calvin Klein, then I'll be a sexually viable partner and then I'll be masculine. So it was like
Mm,
looking, because how I felt internally was not reflected in the world. I looked at like what what were the indications externally of how I should behave. So I need to look exactly like this to be a good son. I need to look
right.
like
Wow.
this to be a partner, or to for females to find me attractive. Like, so I think that's like inherent in me, is just being more aware of like how to how I'm supposed to fit in, I guess. And how to reconcile that. I guess it's tough, and it's what I would say is for whoever's listening, and this, if this is the first time you're hearing this, like there's someone out there who is going to find you sexy and attractive exactly how you are today. And that's kind of the beauty of the world we live in. It's not about, there's tons of guys who aren't attracted to washboard abs, or like who want someone who looks like a real person. And what's important is like, how do you feel about it? How do you feel in your own skin? If your sincere goal is to have washboard abs, and that's my client's goal, I'm going to say,
Mm,
okay, great, we're going to have to like really really dial it down. You're going to have to forego all these social opportunities for food and drink. But I guess my point is, whether you're someone's carrying excess 30 pounds, or whether they are 6% body fat, it's not necessarily tied to how they feel about themselves, and really how you feel about yourself. Those vibes, I'm sure this is something you talk about a lot with your clients, Andrew. Like that's a very sort of palpable thing for a prospective partner. Like, how does this person feel about them? What are they exuding? So it's totally there. It exists. But I would say the short answer is you don't have to look any certain way. It's about finding out like what do you, and it's also not bad to pursue weight loss. I think that's
right.
something too, where it's like, oh, the scale is bad, we shouldn't. No, like it's what do you want from it? What is going to be, I guess
Yeah,
my job as a coach is to help my clients achieve like the happiest, healthiest versions of themselves,
right.
whatever that means.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure that answered your question, but
yeah, 100%. And I love what you're saying about like being attractive. Like you don't have to look a certain way, and I feel that's something that I'm super passionate about. Like telling people, and for the past year, I've been like on this argument. I'm like, oh my gosh, like being attractive is subjective. Like I don't like someone could totally be attracted to someone with a little bit of a belly or even a big belly. Like it doesn't matter. I don't know. Yeah, so that's one thing that comes up for me. And the other thing is like you're right. It is a reality. Like I could be on Instagram and there's this this archetype of this 24-year-old Caucasian model, and he's doing pottery with his shirt off or something. And I don't look like that. So obviously I'm not attractive, right? Those are stuff that I had to like work through, like him and his washboard abs. Um, so that makes sense. I guess my question to you is what are some reasons that people can prioritize their health? Like, so for example, for me, like, because actually, I'll just say this for the audience. So, in life coaching, there's two types of motivation. We have like negative motivation and positive motivation. So, negative motivation might be you're doing something to escape pain or because you think that that end result will make you more lovable or whatever it is. Maybe we'd consider that negative motivation. What do you think, Michael, are some positive motivations for pursuing weight loss? So, for example, is it just about my heart health and the fact that I love myself and I want to live a long time and like optimizing my heart health, or like what are some reasons I should prioritize my health? Yeah, I don't know if that's making sense.
yeah, it totally makes sense. Yeah, heart health, absolutely. The reality, though, I think humans were less motivated by those more
Uh,
logical reasons. Some people are, and that's great.
yeah.
But um, and I think using negative emotions can be a helpful catalyst
Mm,
at first, but it's not. I
mm,
think that's why I was in that cycle for so long because
mm.
I came out of the closet and I was like, I can't be fat and gay. Like, oh my God, that's how the horror.
Wow.
So like that was a really motivating factor, but that was also not a factor that was going to keep me at healthy homeostasis. So I think healthy reasons, like I look at the gym, for example, I'm like, that is like, to me, it's like a Prozac. Like that, like, that is like, I work out because I just feel so much better. I can show up to work more energized. I sleep better. Um, I think in today's day and age, we talk a lot about mental health, which is a good thing. Like mental health, I think that's a really great reason and a motivating
Mm,
reason to get into shape, just to have more energy, to sleep better,
yeah.
uh, to feel better, even like better performance at work. All those things, when you
Wow.
really can get a little bit more dialed in with your eating and you're feeling better, like it's going to permeate all aspects of your life in a positive way.
So it almost sounds like we don't have to pursue health and fitness to look a certain way. You can if you want, but like that's not the only option. Like we can, it's going to help us feel better. It's going to help us sleep better and perform better at work. And it goes back to what you were saying about like helping your clients live the best kind of life that they want. Is that kind of what you're
Right.
saying? Okay.
100%. And some, a lot of my clients are dads or moms, and it's like just showing up for your life in a more engaged way, whether having more energy for your kids or having more energy for work, whatever it is, um, showing up for it and being more engaged.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that comes to mind too, I was actually talking to a client the other day, and we were talking about confidence, and we were talking about how like confidence in that context we were talking is energy. And I'm like, I think movement, like what we were talking about, we were like, what are some kinds of movements you can do to just improve your confidence and things like that. And I bring that up because, yeah, I think fitness and working out, I think can generate like positive emotions and things like that. Um, One experience I want to share with you just to kind of get your insight is I think so I think there's a lot of growth that can happen when you are working out and pursuing fitness. So for example, when I go to the gym, I hit the mat and I I honestly get still, and I do a little bit of meditation, some stretching, things like that. And then when I'm on the when I'm doing like weight training, I'm like focusing on my form and things like that. And I just want to say, like, focusing on form for me, that helps me feel focused and disciplined and confident. And I feel like a freaking Jedi, like just like practicing, like, so I just wanted to
Yeah.
say, like, I experienced that, and like that helps me feel like strong and grounded and confident. So I just wonder, like, do you experience something different? And or yeah, do you experience things like
Yeah.
that too? Because
I
I
love
do.
that. I love that you brought that up. I think so. It's funny because a lot I usually go with music on, and I
Yeah,
kind of will lose myself. However, sometimes I'll go without music, and it almost feels like an extended meditation because my
yeah,
mind says, "Oh, I want to go. I have to go do X, Y, and Z." You know, I'm thinking about it, but it forces me to say, "Hey, I'm here right now. I'm doing this squat, and just like be with it." And
yeah,
but also like what I think is so fantastic about fitness in particular is it really is like a microcosm for life. You know, it's
yeah.
about discipline. It's about delayed gratification. It's about um, setting boundaries with your time and prioritizing yourself. It's like it's a hands-on, immediate, imminent way to like express that to yourself. Like, you know, I don't always want to go to the gym. More often than not, I don't want to go, but um, it's a practice and it's kind of like everything in life, whether it's, you know, I don't want to make my bed. I don't want to feel like brushing my teeth, but you do these things anyway. Um, so yeah, I totally hear what you're saying there.
Yeah, and we do these things like my brain says, like, out of respect for yourself. Like, that's at least why I try. And yeah, I just think it's super cool. Like, I just imagine, seeing someone squatting, and it looks really cool. Like, I could see that they're like silencing their mind and they're really focusing on that form, and that just shows me like excellence. And I don't know, I just think that's really cool. And yeah, those are some reasons why I like to do stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
100%.
on all of that, and we've touched on this a little bit, but how do you think focusing on your health and fitness can improve someone's dating life?
So I mean, the first one that comes to mind is you're going to look and feel better. So that's kind of the easy, obvious one. But I think if you look a little bit deeper, the bigger things, and going back to like, hey, not everyone's attracted to the same thing. Attraction is subjective. But what I believe is not subjective is like self-valuation. Like by going to the gym, you're showing to prospective partners like, hey, I'm a high
Mm,
value individual and I
mm,
value myself and I prioritize myself. And I know you asked me on a date tomorrow, but I actually can't make it because I have a yoga class. But how about Wednesday? So like it's portraying um that you have interest, it's portraying that you value yourself. Um maybe making yourself a little bit less available. And I'm not a dating coach, but
mhm.
like I think that's something that I find attractive is someone who like they have things going on. They're not
Yeah,
100% available all the time. They um and also like you meet people in fitness. It's a great
yeah,
way to, you know, whether you know, I actually just moved to Austin, so I need to find I have a gym in my building, but I think it's super important for me, even if it's a weightlifting gym and I'm not
mhm,
necessarily talking to people, there's something sort of grounding about like going at 8 a.m. and seeing the same faces. There's this familiarity to it. But like you can join a running club or a pickleball
mm.
league. So um, yeah, at face value too, just a great way to meet people and prospective partners that way.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I would agree. Like, obviously, yeah, immediately self confidence, self love, self respect, things like that. But also like growth, like being on a fitness journey or working out, like that is growth, and growth is going to have certain other like positive consequences as well. And
Right.
I love what you mean about community and like going to yoga classes and things like that, because I agree. I think that's where you can meet people. Obviously it's a little bit harder sometimes for gay folks because you can't always tell who's as
Yeah.
well, but yeah, that makes sense. um okay, one thing I wanted to bring up is I was snooping through your Instagram, as we often do, and
Oh, okay.
I saw your transformation photo, and I was quite impressed with it. And I'm just wondering, and for those listening, you guys can flip over to Michael's Instagram and you can take a look and tell me about the guy in the before photo a little bit because it's a really significant transformation in my opinion.
Um, wow. So there's the guy in the before photo. I
How did he feel
felt
about
like I
himself?
was, yeah, I
Yeah.
felt like I was like standing on the sidelines. I always felt like sort of watching life unfold, but I wasn't like in the game. Um, I was, I remember just feeling physically heavy. Like I was just
Yeah.
waking up in the morning, like rolling out of bed, like over my belly. It was just like physically being uncomfortable. And I would wear clothes that I didn't feel good in because they fit. And I would get on the subway. I was in New York at the time and just sweating on the subway and thinking, oh my God, I, I look like such a mess. Like, and just
Mm,
kind of um, getting to work and working. I was working a corporate job at the time. And then on the weekends, I had a few friends, but I didn't really like to go out. And, also I would come home on the weekends and isolate and order DoorDash and order 12 pack, and I was using alcohol also to kind of cope with the
mm.
feelings of isolation and loneliness. And um yeah, I wasn't feeling good. It was a pretty unhappy place.
Yeah. When was that?
So that was like right after the 2021. So kind of like after I lost some weight on the
Yeah.
Saxenda and then gained it all back, and it was sort of
Yeah.
right before I really decided to figure this thing out.
Yeah. This is a deep question, but I'm going to ask you because I'm kind of an emotional guy. What relationship do you have now with that guy in the picture, if any?
Wow, I love that question. I I work to have compassion.
Yeah.
I can never fully escape being a gay man who was born in the late 80s. So like there can be a level of disdain, which I
Mhm.
know is not good. And I work to have compassion. And that's something I really try to tell my clients is like, look, you're the body, that was the body that got you through a pandemic and it got you through
Yeah.
life, and it's your vessel, and we have to love it and have um, compassion and appreciation for it. And like
Mhm.
our bodies are incredibly adaptable, and like maybe it was helpful at that time to gain the weight, and that's what we needed emotionally and spiritually. Um, and I believe that we can hold those two things at the same time: the compassion and also a desire and pursuit to have a healthier body. I'll say,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that beautifully said. And some kind of gratitude too for like yeah, the future a bit.
yeah,
I kind of think about myself when I was a different version of myself too, maybe emotionally, like I was, more judgmental or mean to people or whatever it is. And I kind of think too, like for those listening, if there is a version of you that maybe you're not like super proud of, something like that, like I agree, like just, thank you and respect that version of yourself. And like I think about me, like please forgive me for being so damn tough on myself. Like I didn't know any
yeah,
better. I didn't have tools of compassion and things like that. But yeah, yeah. I just wanted to
yeah.
ask.
Something it's sort of kind of related, but like what I think is so cool about the fitness journey is that um, you can look at the before and after and say, oh man, I'm gonna have to lose 60 pounds before I feel energized and vibrant and engaged. And like it's not
Right.
true. It's like
Wow.
the spiritual mental shift can literally happen like day one. Like it's about the energy of where you're at emotionally, because it's funny, I'll even look at pictures of where I had just lost like 15 pounds, and I'll be like, damn, I thought I was like sexy AF, but then I'm looking at the picture, I'm like, you're still kind of chubby, but it's like it doesn't matter. It's like it's just knowing that you are doing what's right in terms of feeding yourself properly and working out the emotional and spiritual shift can happen like that. You don't have to be at your goal to
Yeah.
feel so much better.
Yeah, I love that, and I think that energy spiritual shift can happen too when we have that hope and when we see a little bit of progress as well. And yeah, that's what I was telling my client the other day. I was like, it's not even about the weight loss for this client. I was like, it's about losing my train of thought here, but basically just feeling better in your body and by doing different movements, like it's gonna create confidence, that energy within your body. But anyway, um,
100%.
yeah, what I wanted to ask you, I want to get into a little bit of some tips now, if that's okay. So, for example, in terms of weight loss, what's most important? Is it nutrition? Is it exercise? Is it both? I'm just kind of curious.
So the short answer is the nutrition. I
Oh,
have to
wow.
be, yeah, I would say if we're looking at it just as like a weight loss goal,
Mhm.
it's nutrition is number one. And a lot of times with my clients, not a
That's
lot of times,
interesting.
with my clients, I'm like, we don't even address the fitness until usually about 2 weeks in. Like because we're making a lot of changes around food, we're implementing a lot of new stuff. Now, the caveat there is that like they're both super important when it
Sure.
comes to sustainable, healthy weight loss. Because the problem with having like just a weight loss goal and just looking at it in terms of food is like your goal is to lose 20 pounds and you lose 20 pounds, great. But then what happens once you get there? Now, when you have um, a fitness component as well, it really helps to make it sustainable. It's going to make you happier. It's going to make, a lot more
Mm,
endorphins. It's going to make you more connected, but it also gives you like a moving target. The problem with the weight loss goal is that it ends. And however, if you're in the gym and you can always get stronger. We can always get more
uh,
flexible. We can always
oh, I
run a little
see.
bit longer. So the fitness component, while it's introduced a little bit later in my program, it becomes just as important for a more holistic, comprehensive reason, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit of a nerd, so hopefully these questions are okay for our audience. But when we say weight loss and like we're losing weight, are we losing fat? Are we burning fat? I would imagine, or
So the goal is always to burn yeah, the
excess fat.
proper way to really discuss it is like losing excess fat. Now, that's not always the case. And a lot of times if we lose weight too quickly, we're losing muscle mass. And that's
Wow.
also why it's important um to exercise because it helps to retain and grow lean muscle
Mm,
while we're losing weight. And kind of to that point, like really the sustainable target is really like maximum 2 pounds per week. If you're losing now, you may lose more than that at first, especially for males. Don't freak out about that. But like in terms of sustained weight loss, the the more even it is at a rate of 1 to 2 pounds per week, the more likely you're burning excess fat and not losing muscle. Um, but yes, that's a great, and I'm glad you brought that up. That's a super important reason also why strength training is important because we want to make sure we're retaining the muscle.
one of the things that's on my bucket list is to, I don't know if I'll ever do it, but is to do a fitness competition. So like, get fit, show up in a speedo and all of that. And I don't know much about it, but what would you what advice, if any, would you say to me, like in doing that? Any encouragement or would yeah, I'll just kind of pause there. I know that's
First
random.
off, it's actually one of my goals too. I think that'd be super fun. I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
I, I feel like it would be super
I
challenging and kind of scary, but
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength, and it's like when we see a little bit of ambition and we know the growth potential there. Like, I mean, that's one of the reasons I started my business is I knew I was going to grow as a person, and like I
right,
see that here too because I've been like not battling my fitness, but like it's always I don't prioritize it as much as I would like to, and I feel like if I had a goal, I just feel like
mm.
I know I would make myself do it, and I'm excited for the growth that could happen. So anyway, yeah.
Have you like
No,
done
man,
some
I don't know
research?
anything about it. No.
I would, and
So we'll have to
you're in
connect
Nashville,
offline.
right?
Yeah, I'm in Nashville.
I would say just get the ball rolling. Type in Google like
I'm
Nashville
I'm
amateur
scared.
weightlifting.
I'm
Do
scared,
it.
Michael.
If you're scared, that's lean into it.
Oh God. Okay. Well, we're gonna connect offline.
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't you give us some of your top three nutrition principles?
Top three nutrition principles. First, I would say number one, and this is, I always say it like in a loving way, like I'm a fat kid at heart. And what I mean by that is like there's a small percentage of people who are like David Goggins who have this incredible threshold for pain and I'm not like that. And what really flipped the switch for me was realizing it's imperative that I enjoy what I'm eating, that I like look
Mm,
forward to. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have spicy Thai beef and beans tomorrow, like, and I'm looking forward to it. So I think all that's to say, number one, like find a program you enjoy. If you're presented with a program that is extremely stringent, like the important thing to remember is that the way you're going to keep off the weight is the same way. Sorry, the way you're going to keep it off, like it has to be the same way you lost it. So
mm,
if you can lose weight doing keto, but you're not going to keep it off, and like don't waste your
uh,
time doing that. Like
that,
so,
that,
find something you enjoy. Yeah,
it's interesting you say that because to me, that sounds like in business, there's no point in get rich quick because you would need something sustainable. It sounds kind of similar. Like there's no point in doing that because I mean, you're still going to have to do something sustainable afterward, after you lose the weight or whatever it is.
right,
Yeah, that makes sense.
100%. And then I guess number two, something we actually talked, we hit on a little bit earlier, was just like moderation, like just understanding that, like I said earlier, like your health today is the sum of those nutrition goals. So like if you screw up at, I don't love that
Yeah.
language, but like let's say you go off plan at lunch, like that's okay. Like it's a course correction. Like you know a spaceship going to the moon, like it's never exactly on course. It gets to the moon by constantly having mechanisms in place to refocus its direction. And that's how we have to look at it. Not like, oh, I had a bad day, but like, you know, our ability to affect change is in the right here, right now. It's not tomorrow. It's not worrying about what you ate for breakfast. It's like, what decision do I want to make right now? And number three, yeah, I guess number three kind of conflated with the two, just like sustainability, like
Mm.
looking at your lifestyle, what makes sense for you, what do you enjoy, and pursuing nutrition goals and programs that way.
And for those that are not super, so like I have a degree in biology, human biology,
Oh,
and for
wow.
those that are not like super, like I have some friends, and I realized after hanging out with them that they're not aware. We talked about McDonald's; they're not aware of certain nutritional principles, and I was just like scratching my head a little bit. So for those that are not aware of just basic nutrition principles, what are your thoughts on advice on that? Like, should we just watch a YouTube video? Like, what's the best way to just get a quick crash course if we didn't take nutrition in college? Um,
That's a
yeah, like,
great question. Something I think about a lot because like I grew up with that. Like it was a part of the conversation. Like I just know. And that was something that was shocking to me as a coach that like people don't know like that a slice
yeah.
of bread is around like
Mm-mm.
100 to 120. Like that's just something that seems so obvious to me. And it's not at all. Like people just don't. And actually, those are my favorite type of clients because I feel so like I love being able to just like provide that value. Um, well, you can work with me as a
Mhm,
client,
mhm,
but
mhm.
there's I'm trying to think. Some programs I
The
like the way they approach it, like Noom, for example. It talks about food and
oh, I
it's
love
not like
Noom.
bad food versus good food. It's like, hey, like it color codes it, which I think is pretty
Mhm,
cool. It talks about like this is green because it's nutrient dense, which just means like you get good bang for your buck. So like Noom, I would say there's great YouTube content. There's tons of
mm,
stuff on Instagram and TikTok, recipes, things like that. Tons of
okay.
free apps, My Fitness Pal or Lose It, that can kind of help you on that journey.
Awesome. What are your thoughts? So again, this is from an ignorant mind, like I just don't know. What are your thoughts on supplements?
Um, it's a
It's a
great
big
question.
question.
Honestly, I think one supplement, I feel like that's sort of like, I don't typically get too much into that with my clients.
Mm,
Um, I think it's super important that when you're looking at a supplement, you're looking at like the science behind it. Usually, if someone's making money off of the research, it doesn't mean it's
oh,
necessarily bad, but like um, one supplement that I do like, and it's because it has been one of the most thoroughly scientific scientifically researched, is creatine. Creatine does help build muscle. Um, I when my clients ask about supplements, it's we do protein um, and creatine if they're looking for something like that. But that's pretty much the extent of it I get into with my clients.
yeah, for sure. Okay, can you give us your top 3 exercise principles?
Yeah, so 'cause they're kind of similar. Within my program, it's called the True Motion Blueprint. So if you were a client, for example, Andrew, I'd say like, okay, you're in Nashville, you work from home. Do you have a bike? Do you have a city bike there? Like, so kind of like, what does your life look like right now? What are things you enjoy, and how do we build on that?
Wow.
How do we complement that? So maybe you do Barry's Boot Camp and you love it and you have a great community there, and then so instead of doing a 4 day fitness routine, it's like we'll start with 2 days because we don't want to eliminate that. So yeah, I guess number one, like finding finding what you love, the things that you're already doing that are great, awesome, continue doing
Mhm.
them. Um, it's similarly also like I guess number two, being wary of like overly stringent or maybe if Barry sounds awful to you, then don't do Barry's. There's plenty of other ways to move your body and um, you know get the blood flowing, get the heart pumping. There's lots of ways to do it, and find a way that you're excited about.
How do we know, Michael, if our current fitness plan is not working?
Wow, that's a great question. I
Do you
guess
think
sorry, go
Well,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, my mind goes to, I'm not a fitness coach, so my mind goes to the scale. Like, is that accurate or is it, um
It's tough because the scale is one barometer,
oh, a metric,
and
okay.
it's an important one. I would say to sort of preempt that, let's say in strength training, there's this idea of progressive overload. So you always
All
want to
right.
be increasing the weight as you
Mm,
work out. So first and foremost, it's making sure that proper form, not worrying about impressing anyone because no one, I promise you, no one at the gym cares how much you're lifting. Getting the form down, but then every week to 2 weeks trying to add, 2.5 or 5 pounds. So that's a way to sort of preempt it
yeah.
because you will plateau. Your muscles do adapt and get
Mm,
stronger. So you do need to sort of increase the weight to keep seeing results. Um, yeah, so I guess if you felt like if you're at the gym and it's feeling too easy, you're probably not getting the results you want.
okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Really quick, we'll kind of wrap up in a couple minutes here, but what about those folks, I would include myself sometimes, that feel some emotion about going to the gym? Either we just don't want to go, number one, but also when we're there, we're a little bit self-conscious because of what you just said. Now with these influencers and they're freaking filming themselves, and you're just like walking around with your belly behind them trying to get the
Yeah.
5 pound weight. Like, any thoughts on how to work through that being self-conscious at the gym?
So there's all sorts. I think pick the right gym first.
Mm,
Maybe if Equinox sounds intimidating, then stay away from it. There's definitely gentler, queer, gay-oriented gyms that are going to be that may feel more welcoming. So I would say pick the gym wisely. Um, Maybe go with a friend that's helped me a lot in the past. I would go with
mm,
a trainer, and that just it helped me feel a little bit more um, confident in going there. And Yeah, and just doing it anyway, and just kind of if someone's judging you for being there, they're
Oh
an
yeah,
a moron. Like,
yeah,
sorry, like I can't think of a better way to say that, but like that's really sad, and people aren't judging you. The
yeah,
gym can
yeah.
be a really supportive, awesome community. Um, and just go where it feels warm. I would say
Oh wow.
if a gym feels judgmental and toxic, then there's another gym where you're going to feel welcomed and good there.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, like, the idea of, like, following the energy, like, even going to yoga class, like, how does that make you feel? And I agree, I think a lot of it is most of it, if not all of it, is in our head too. Because like, they have their headphones on, they're working on themselves, they're texting in the meanwhile, like, they don't really, care. They just wanna know if you're done, you know?
Right,
So, I
exactly.
if that at all, you know?
Yep.
Anything else, Michael, you want to talk about before I get into our last question? Anything you want our audience that we didn't kind of cover in my rigid questions here?
Wow, I feel like we covered a lot. Not really. Andrew, I think you did a great job. That was, yeah, I feel like I hit on what I wanted to.
What you felt in your heart? Beautiful.
Yeah.
Any final pieces of advice, Michael, that you want to give someone who's on their fitness journey, whether they just want to lose a couple of pounds and kind of tone up a bit, or those that do want to lose a significant amount of weight?
Um, yeah, I would say keep up the great work, and I'd say you're closer to the goal than you think. You know,
Yeah,
the time goes by whether we're doing the thing or not,
yeah,
and yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. Also, you don't have to move the mountain. Like a lot of times in fitness, we can think there needs to be some quantum leap, or I need to like
wow,
the way you lost 5 pounds is the keep doing the same thing. You don't have to 9 times out of 10, you don't
oh,
really have to change. You just keep it's about those simple, oftentimes not that exciting disciplines. Just
yeah.
keep at it. You'll get there before you know it.
Like a lot of things in life, it's just like the same simple, trusted techniques. Just do it over time. Keep doing what's working. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Exactly.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for all of that. Super helpful. For those listening, yeah, go back and rewatch and take notes if you want. Michael, how can we keep up with you? What do you have going on in your world these days?
Most of my stuff is on my Instagram. It's that's underscore Mr. Mister underscore Gigante. I also have YouTube, Forever Fit Weight Loss. But yeah, that's the best way to follow along.
What kind of content can we expect on your Instagram? Like tips and things like that?
Yeah, I do a lot of like recipes, and I like to share like specific, the macros, the calories. I like to kind of really give some value. Um, but yeah, it's kind of just following a little bit of a blog, following along my life. Currently, I'm in Austin, so sort of navigating a
Mm,
new city. But diet tips, what's going on in my life, recipes, stuff like that.
yeah, awesome. All right, you guys, thanks so much for listening along. That was Michael. He's, again, a certified fitness and nutrition coach. And thanks for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Thank you.